are in VMware, the virtual machine storage and the cloud solution.
Our presenter standing by, so we should start on time, which is excellent. And we like that. So have a seat, make yourselves comfortable, and we'll be right out to help you.
You're right.
Can I have one?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
How's it going?
Thank you.
Hello.
1 الكونفرنس 1 minute they will start VMware conference. We are still waiting. ما زلنا منتظرين المحاضرة.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're going to get started. Our presenters here, we're so excited to have him. He does a great job. That's Jeff. He's talking delivering Windows apps to a hybrid remote workforce. It's your stage, Jeff, so take it away.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. It's definitely exciting to be back at VMware Explore, where we get an opportunity to actually get back together in person. It's been, a couple of years now since we've been here. So I just wanted to start off by getting a raise of hands of how many of you are actually working and deploying applications today, delivering them. How many of you are looking for better ways to do it? How many of you are using apps? All right, that's great. So today we're going to be talking about something that's really exciting. Of course, I have to give you the disclaimer because some of this stuff is still in progress, but we're giving you a sneak peek preview of what's coming. Now, a lot of the technology exists today, and we're wrapping it up and getting it to you. So this is an exciting time for us to be talking about it. Before we talk about the actual thing that I'm going to show you, the technology, I want to talk a little bit about what it means to manage apps. I spent about a decade in IT, and when I was working in IT as a customer, I realized that there were a lot of process pieces that were in place, things that it would make were things that we were doing to manage applications, and whether that was working with MSIs, whether we were Pixie booting with Norton Ghost, if you remember some of those technologies, we were doing things, these kinds of activities. Well, in my time at VMware, I found that we were spending most of the time on delivery. We're talking about the desktop, we're talking about Windows, and in reality, if you look at apps, without the apps that you need for your business, you're really talking about Notepad, Calculator, Minesweeper maybe, and sometimes Solitaire. I mean, you're really not talking about the apps that you need to get your business working. And so there are a lot of activities that happen around the delivery, around Windows, around the desktop, to making sure that you get the right apps in place. And the first is being able to identify those apps, whether you've given admin access to all of your users and said, go ahead and install whatever you want, or whether you have people coming from other companies saying, this tool worked great where I was. And then on top of that, you're starting to look at things like, how do we actually get these into some sort of a container, some sort of an ability to get this to the machine. Now you've got MSI, one of the oldest containers, which is putting it into a file and letting it expand and install, to things that are more modern, like app volumes, Microsoft's MSIX app attach technology, which bring the app to the machine and run it right then and there instantly. You have things like testing, which is making sure that app is working. And that testing can be something like just making sure that the application meets the user's needs, UAT testing. We had an experience where we rolled out, if you remember the transition with Office, we rolled out, and this was back when you imaged machines, we rolled it out to all of our users. We tested it in IT. We said, this works great. The new version of Office is working great. Well, what we didn't realize is that it brought our manufacturing facility to a halt. What happened was they had procedures that said, go to the tools menu. And Microsoft said, you don't need a tools menu anymore, we'll do it with pictures. And they brought in something called the ribbon, and that basically brought the company to a halt. And so as IT, we started realizing, well, we can't roll back, we can't take those things into place. So what we had to do was actually create PDF files that said, almost like a magic decoder ring, if you went to the tools menu, come click on this picture now. The point was user acceptance testing was critical to that as well, making sure that the users were good with the applications. And we have technologies and partners out there that are helping to even make the automated testing capabilities that are there. So they're helping with automated packaging, they're helping with automated testing, and making sure that those things are available for you. We have entitlement, which is the capability of making sure you get your apps to your users. And that's one of the key things that we've been focusing on, is it's not about the machine that they're using, it's not about the device. The device is important, but it's about the user getting the apps and having the apps follow the user. And then we get to delivery, which is being able to put those items onto the machine or device, or being able to access them from a device. Rollback, being able to hit a giant undo button. I really wish I had an undo button when I did that Office rollout. Telemetry, when we're talking about telemetry, we're talking about gathering metrics, making sure we know who's using what, and that helps us understand what licenses we need to put in place for those applications. And then self-service. Why do we need IT to even actually do something when the user can do it themselves? I've got my mother at home, and I use my mother because she's a perfect example. She was not a big computer user, but she's got 4 or 5 apps for editing photos, and she'll just pull it up, she downloads it off the App Store. She's always showing me something new. Users are now capable of helping themselves. We just need to make sure we provide the tools to make sure that they can do that. So today we'll be talking about an area of these 4 focuses in this presentation. So now to the exciting part. I'm sure you guys have heard of RDSH, you've heard of technologies like XenApp, you've heard of technologies like Horizon Apps that bring together almost 2 decades of history of delivering applications. These are kind of old technologies. These are technologies that, yes, they work, they help you, but you could be doing it so much better. And the problems we have with these is you have to do things like set up servers and then install apps on those servers and then scan those servers to find the apps. You have to then rationalize, like, I'm going to put these apps on this server, these apps on that server, because I don't want to, if I'm going to update an app, I need to drain off the users and come to a different set of servers. So you're doing all these painful things. Now you've got assignments going across multiple servers. We've found that with our customers that we could do this better. As we've talked to customers, we've heard things like 30% savings in hardware, hundreds of thousands of dollars of savings, to be able to help deliver those applications and spend more time on things that matter, keeping your apps up to date and making your users happy. So I'm going to show you a couple of things that allow to make that happen. Now what you're seeing is this technology that exists today up until the purple thing, the thing I'm going to show you. We've got the capability of doing published apps, app promoting. We've got the capability of doing lifecycle management with markers and being able to say this is no longer the current version, now this is the current version of an app, and having that automatically roll out. Having the ability to do multiple sessions. So you're talking like Win10 multi-session technology. You're talking about now RDSH technology, where you can have multiple sessions and each user has different apps. That means they have a different C drive, basically. And then you've got apps on demand, which means that we can instantly deliver applications to that running machine and as the user actually needs that application. And then that brings you to published apps on demand. And the way this is possible is by actually having these apps in individual containers that can be delivered as a user actually needs them. And so, for example, I'm just going to talk about a desktop. I'll show you one of our technologies today that we have called App Volumes, which delivers the applications on demand now. So these are all set to be delivered on demand. I did do the demo, and as you can see here, we've got all the icons, and down here in the start bar. But wait a second, if we go to add remove programs, or now called programs and features, you can see that none of these applications are actually installed on the machine. But if I come over and I click on Mozilla and I launch Firefox, what's going to happen is we're going to deliver that app to the machine instantaneously, and then you're going to be able to see it. It's going to run. So the user experience is exactly the same. So what do I've got here? I've got now a very clean Windows machine, and as everyone knows, the best version of Windows is the freshly installed version of Windows. And I've got on top of that now the app that I selected. So I'm building my desktop. The desktop is a utility, and I'm building my apps, or getting my apps and building my desktop dynamically as I need them as a user. So I click on Word, for example. Now I search for that. Windows search is working as expected. I'm launching the application. None of this is sped up. This is real time. It's delivering this 2 GB application to the machine and launching it instantly for the user. And so now you can see that I've got this application launched. I'm using the application. If I refresh, of course, there it is. The whole Office suite was delivered. And if I go ahead and I close these things out and take a look at my control plane, refresh for this user, you can see both of those app packages have been delivered to that machine and are basically building this machine on the fly in Windows. And then if I log out, what you'll see here, and I go back to that console, I refresh, those disks are ejected, the machine's recycled, and a new one's ready for the next time they want to get a work done. And so by doing this, we can actually create a very clean experience, allowing you to update your applications as simple as moving a marker, what we call this green pill over here, move the marker, and now you have a new version of that application that's being delivered. If a user hasn't clicked that application yet and they aren't using it, I can move that pill while they're in Windows doing what else, and now they'll get the current version of the application. So you'll always have your users at the best possible time getting the most current versions of your applications, and then you can retire the other ones as you don't use them anymore. Now let's go to RDSH. Right? This is the part that's coming. This is the part that's really exciting. If you look at these, a typical RDSH environment, you'll have different sets of servers that you're guessing. I think I'm going to have users using this one. I think I'm going to have so many users on this one. I'm going to separate these because I update this one all the time, and I don't want to disrupt all these other users when I update that app. And what you have to do is have extra hardware lying around, and then actually drain users off of one server onto a new one when you make an update. And this gets really complex to manage. And so if I go ahead and then I drain all those users, now I have this extra set of hardware I can pull back out and I can do this again. This is very complex. This is actually very time consuming, and you're spending a lot of time doing things to try and update these apps, and it's very cumbersome. So what can we do about this? Well, we can start with a single generic gold image. And with that gold image, I can have a set of servers that can expand as much as I need, because I'm not worried about what apps at this point. I'm just having my environment full of servers. And then you talk about things like cloud, it gets even better. And then as users log in, each time a user logs in, we'll create a session for them, and we'll build their session as they need it. And so now, as they need different apps, those apps get added to the session, and you have this capability of having unique RDSH servers built on the needs of the customer, or of your end user, as you need it. So you can see it's growing this environment, and I can expand this environment, I can burst this environment, and then I can contract it when I'm no longer having users that are using those machines. And so you can think about use cases like maybe it's quarter end and your finance guys, or maybe it's tax time. Whatever it may be, your environment can expand, handle that load, and contract it, and you don't have to think about this farm, this server, this app. You're not worrying about any of that. And this is as simple as it is. This is how it is. The admin just selects these apps that are delivered from the app warehouse. They select the apps, and then they bring those apps to the desktop there. So they can select and say, hey, I want to give these apps to this Windows user. When the Windows user's logged in, they click on Visio, and just like we saw in the VDI use case when we had a desktop and the app was being delivered, this RDSH server is being built dynamically in the back end, and it's actually launching those applications. So you can see here we've got, in this case, I'm launching Google Chrome. It's being delivered to the RDSH server and then presented to the desktop. Now let's take a look at a Mac user as well. So we have two different users, and I'm taking you piece by piece because it's going to get really exciting once I show you the whole play-by-play from the top. So if we got this Mac user, and the Mac user is now launching an application. So they're going to launch Firefox. Now what's unique about building a session versus having all these sessions across all these RDSH servers is that these sessions are very, very tailored to the user. So they're going to have, as I'm launching Adobe Acrobat, I've got two now Windows apps seamlessly on a Mac, and I'm using those apps. When I go help about, what am I going to see here? Well, I'm going to see it launch a web browser. Since I've created that session for the user, they're going to get what makes sense for them, which is this web browser that I've already had open. And so not only is it more efficient and not having these sessions spread across RDSH servers, multiple sessions for every user for different apps, having them together means that their experience is much more rich and it's much more natural to what they're used to. So things like, and this is part of the App Volumes technology, things like shared registry keys between applications, COM, all of that stuff works because these applications aren't isolated from each other. They're actually brought to Windows as they were meant to be. And so if we look at these two machines running side by side, I'll try and do a play-by-play here. So they're launching the applications, the VMDKs are being delivered, the apps to the sessions are being virtualized and they're being delivered. So if I have Acrobat, for example, I click, I'm going to get Acrobat, VMDK gets delivered to the machine, Acrobat's available in a session, Acrobat launches. Same with Chrome right here. If I click on Chrome, Chrome comes to the session and is now launched and I'm able to access Chrome from the server. Now, what about an app like, I use Notepad++, it's my engineering's favorite. The idea, if I bring Notepad++ into this environment, but I have it from both users that are clicking on it, it's not going to deliver two VMDKs, it's just going to deliver the one because we're configuring the server for what it needs, and it's actually going to deliver them from both sessions. So very, very efficient. And that VMDK is shared across all these servers. You can have thousands of servers for one VMDK. Now I've got a phone. I'm saying apps everywhere, right? So let's look at the phone. I'm doing the exact same thing. Here from the Horizon client, I can launch an application. When I click on that application, it's going to bring it right to the phone. So you're able to access your device, your apps from everywhere, and then obviously if we had them launch an application that's not in this list configured yet, it would attach that application as well. So we're talking about building servers dynamically because we don't really know what our users need from day to day. And it changes from day to day. Tomorrow they need this app, tomorrow they need this one more frequently. They're working on a project that needs one particular application, they're working on a project that needs something else the next week. So we need to be able to have the servers be able to adapt to the need dynamically in real time. So how do you set this up? Is this super complicated? And the answer is no. And this is the part where we're bringing in, and we're excited to be bringing to the platform. And I'm not able to advance the slide. Are you able to advance the slide? Let's just cancel that. So we're going to go ahead and see here as I log into this administrator, or as administrator, I'm going to log into this Horizon console. I'm going to go down to servers where I've configured all my servers, and App Volumes Manager is one of my servers. I'm going to go ahead and connect these together. So I'm going to say, hey, I got my app warehouse and app volumes, and I've got my system in Horizon for delivering those applications and streaming them. So now I can come in and I've already created a farm. It's the same as any farm. And I can specify that I want to be able to get my apps from this app manager, app warehouse. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click submit. And now I can go in and I can actually decide which apps I want to bring from that warehouse and have available in that particular farm. So when I go add from app volumes manager, you'll be able to see all the apps that I have available in my catalog or in my warehouse. I click the ones that I want, I click next, and then here they are. And then that's what left us off to that capability of being able to say, I want to click these apps and assign to that user. That's how simple it is to set up. So that concludes the feature of my presentation. I do want to see if there's any questions out there. Any questions from anyone? Out there in the back. And while we're bringing...
questions, I'm coming to you. What was the question? Okay.
Thank you. The profile management. So if you're using FS Logic, so if you're using DEM, you do on-demand Firefox through app volumes. Then you remove it. How does it work with FS Logic's profile or DEM profile? And on the same note, the shortcuts that you saw on the desktop, how do you actually provision those when the application doesn't exist? Why don't you have a broken link?
So I think those are two questions. Let's answer the first one first, because it had to do with this last demo, I believe. And that was with DEM. And FS Logics, I can't speak to FS Logics right now, but the idea with DEM is you can specify per user to bring those configurations to the user session. So when the user session is created, those user configurations are brought to the system. And that would be the same for both RDSH as well as on the individual VDI session that I showed you. On the second question, if I can answer that, the individual icons, the reason those aren't broken links is because behind the scenes, we've created those icons that know how to call the AppVoim service on the machine, and then that service does the delivery and execution. So it's a lazy deliver, so if it's already there, it just launches. If not, it'll actually bring the app to the machine and then launch it. Any other questions? One question here.
So how are you delivering the Windows products? Because that was a problem with AppVols in the past. So how are you doing it now?
Are you talking like Office? So Office is, we're able to bring Office to the machine. We're looking at, you have KVM or Office 365. You can bring those to the machine. We have a KB article that helps you go through the steps for able to package it. But yes, we're able to package Office, and it is able to be brought to the machine. We ask that if you're going to bring Office, that you keep the version suites the same between the applications, although sometimes it will work with different versions. We want to keep them the same. It makes it a lot better experience, especially when talking about licensing and things like that. So I just wanted to close. There are a couple sessions. If you wanted to see this in more detail, you can watch the first one there, and then these other sessions that are related to app management. couple of our partners that are there. The first two are helping us in this apps everywhere strategy as far as execution. And the last one, I see a couple of folks right there from the Remo 3 team over here. They're helping with app packaging and testing. And so they've been doing, especially their expertise is in testing. So I urge you guys to go check out their booth and see what they're doing around app testing. So I really appreciate everyone's time. Hopefully we've made the act of farming a lot simpler, and you spend more time working with your apps and less time working with the farms. So thank you very much for coming here to VMware Explore and watching this presentation.
Excellent. Give him a hand. Excellent job, everyone, right? Can you help us out here, Jeff? Pull a winning ticket. We have a prize.